The most fun, casual clothes under the sun. It's Barbie Fashion Finds collection with...
Hey guys! How's it going? My name is Thomas Brush and I make indie games for a living. Today we're going to jump up to my office upstairs and I'm going to show you how I'm creating my next game. It's called Father. It's a classic FPS shooter, and by classic I mean it's inspired by games like Half-Life, like the original Half-Life, and then also games like Resident Evil 4, which is one of my favorites. I want to show you how I'm going to create this game. This is the first episode. Hopefully we release more episodic content. I know for me, going from 2D games, because I usually make 2D games, to 3D games was really daunting and it kind of scared me. But here's what I've learned. I've actually learned that making a 3D FPS shooter, it's kind of easier than making a 2D game. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into Unity here, and we're gonna take a look at my game from an exploded view and show you that it's kind of crappy looking when you're not in play mode. And then we're gonna hit play, and then hopefully you'll see maybe that it looks a little bit prettier because of a few things like post-processing effects, lighting, fog, music, ambience. So this is what I've got so far. This is the very early stages of Father. The thing is it kind of looks like crap from far away, especially when I zoom out really far. It's not really that special, but when I zoom in and when I turn on the effects and when I hit play, it's gonna look really pretty. Now, here's the thing. A lot of you might be thinking, I didn't know Thomas could model churches and church interiors and trees and terrain. The truth is, guys, I'm being a lot more economical with the creation of my games currently. So as you can see here, I'm honestly taking advantage of a lot of assets on the Unity asset store. This rock here is just used over and over and over again. Over here, there's just rocks everywhere. It's all one rock and I just rotate it. So as you can see here, I've just downloaded a bunch of textures from the Unity asset store. These are just very cheap textures that I downloaded from the asset store, and then I've converted them from PNGs into PSDs, and then because of that I can actually open them up inside of Photoshop and tweak the colors on the fly, save them out, re-import them into Unity, and make the textures look like they're my own. The same is true with all of the assets here, like the church and the trees. I'm just tweaking the textures inside of Photoshop. And I think most importantly, when you're creating a retro game, you obviously want to compress the textures down. So let me show you really quickly what I mean. By the way, guys, I want to give you an annoying ad read. If you want to check out my online course right now, it's called fulltimegamedev.com. We've got over 1,000 students. Honestly, great reviews. If you want to learn everything you need to learn to go full-time, at least learn all the tricks that I did, and that is secure funding from publishers, secure funding from crowdfunding, make a game, a 3D game, a 2D game from scratch, all of that stuff, and even land on the front page of Steam, all the marketing tricks to do that, and ultimately, hopefully, go full-time. If you're interested in all of that, feel free to check it out below. I have a 25% off coupon. Go ahead and click below to take advantage of that coupon. And guys, if this is annoying to you, I have a free game kit for you as well. So go ahead and click below and I will send you that free game kit. No questions asked, no gimmicks. It's my treat to you. Let's jump back into Unity. If I select this church here and I go to the actual texture and then I open it up inside of Photoshop, you can see it's a high-res texture, see? Very high-res. I would probably say that could probably be 4K. When we go inside of Unity, all I do is I just turn the max size down to 64, and then I set the filter mode to point no filter, and now it's this super compressed old school look. So that's actually the beauty of creating an old school FPS. It's kind of cheating in a way because you can throw in a bunch of assets from a bunch of different developers across the world and then just compress them all down and they look like they all fit inside of this world. So everything looks kind of crappy, but when we hit play, you're gonna notice that it all comes to life and it feels like it's its own game. So let's go ahead and hit play here and take a look at how this game looks. So guys, as you can see, it kind of looks totally different than how it looked before we hit play. A few things to note as we explore this world. The fog makes a huge difference. So it's just a simple fog effect that's built into the Unity editor that I've adjusted and changed the color for. You can also see I've added a few post-processing effects to make things really pop and come to life. So let me show you really quickly how the game looks without the post-processing effects, just to give you an idea of the value that post-processing effects are gonna add to your game. So I'm gonna hit pause here and we can take a look at the game window here. And here's what the game looks like when I actually turn them off. So it's super flat. It feels cheap. It feels like it's probably not worth 15 bucks, which is what I'm gonna probably sell it for. But when we turn them on, all of a sudden it just comes to life. There's one primary reason, actually two primary effects that make it look like it comes to life. The first one is bloom. Let's see how it looks without bloom on. Bloom is gonna give it that foggy, blurry, bloomy, glowy effect. So let me go ahead and turn that off. So all of that warm, fuzzy, dreamlike glow is gone. But if we turn it on, you get a more dreamlike feel. Now, another effect that we can turn off to give you an idea of how cheap it looks without it is actually ambient occlusion. Now you can bake this in, and obviously you should probably bake it in before you launch your game, but I just turned it on just to see how it's gonna look because it takes a while to bake your lighting and your ambient occlusion. So let's go ahead and turn it off and see how it feels without it and then with it on. So if we turn ambient occlusion off, you can see all of the shadows of the edges of shapes are removed. Look, there's no shadows anymore, especially in the dark areas. Like this area is really dark, this area is really dark. It feels flat and it feels like there's not a lot of depth. But if you turn it on, all of a sudden those shadows are calculated by the camera and added onto the screen. So shadows appear here. See that? Look at the detail that's added with the ambient occlusion. Now something to keep in mind is remember, like if you're making a game for mobile or you're making a game for Nintendo Switch, well, you want to be careful using all of these post-processing effects. When you use these post-processing effects with Nintendo Switch or mobile, and I say Nintendo Switch because honestly, it behaves very similarly from a hardware perspective, from a performance perspective as mobile. So just keep in mind that your post-processing effects are going to cause a drop in your FPS, your frames per second. So as you can see, we have particles sort of flying through the scene here, just little squares. Make it feel dusty and maybe feel like the world is slowly disintegrating. And let's run over. How about let's run over to the coast so we can run down here. And as you can see, we're being really careful with how we're doing our textures. And we only have a few textures. We have this mossy texture. And anytime I draw that, it's to put weeds. So I got weeds here. But we've also got a stone texture that I put on the walls here. And I'm not too worried. This is why I love making retro games. I'm not too worried about it looking like crap because in my opinion, it kind of looks charming, right? And for me personally, I don't know how many of you in the audience were born in the 90s, but this feel of really crunchy pixels, I get a warm, nostalgic feeling when I take a look at these textures. So let's go ahead and run down to the coast here and show you how this looks as well. So it's really important to me in creating games that I have zones and I have areas. So I want this area right here to feel different than how it looked at the church area. We're gonna lock all these areas up once my developer, and his name is AJ, and AJ is developing all of the code behind this game. And by the way, you can click below to check out his channel. We're gonna feature AJ a lot during the production of this game. So go ahead and subscribe to AJ. He is a very young developer. He's 18 years old and he is way smarter than me. So go ahead and follow him on YouTube and check out AJ. But what AJ is gonna do is he's gonna put together a system where we can lock off these zones. So this zone here is gonna be one zone that you discover, and you can find this beautiful lighthouse and island scene. But there's also places you can go along the coast. So we're gonna create all sorts of pathways along the coast here to collect more keys. So you can collect a key here maybe, and then we can go back over and go find the church. So unlocking and finding new zones and making this game feel like a Metroidvania. And honestly, games like Half-Life, the original Half-Life, kind of felt like a Metroidvania, and it behaved as one in a lot of ways. So that's the game, guys, and here's a little treat here. You can actually just jump down and, oh no, walk on the water. So we can we can act like Jesus right now, just walking on the water, and we can also take a look and see how crappy models look like up close. And this is the one model that I didn't download from an asset store. This one is just a really crappy cube that I extruded and scaled to make it look like a lighthouse. So guys, that is my next game, Father. This is episode 1. Hopefully we do a lot of episodes. If you guys found this content valuable, please click like, please hit subscribe, and leave a comment below about what you think about all of the strategies I mentioned. Making an FPS doesn't have to be a pain in the butt. It can actually be a lot easier than making 2D games, which I was really surprised by. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you later.